I'm 5 years old in my first memory. I'm on the floor in my childhood bedroom. The carpet is brown and soft, and I'm scribbling in a book that I've made by hand. Sticky taped sheets of paper I've salvaged from other notebooks. The smell of freshly sharpened pencils. Now, I don't remember exactly what the story is I'm writing. The beginning, the end, who the main character is, and if there is a baddie. Actually, there's always a baddie. But what I do remember is how writing these stories made me feel. Tucked away, far away from the eyes of pesky grown-ups, writing these stories gave me flight. They gave me a way to process this sometimes confusing adult world around me, wrangle the things I'd seen and done during the day, like what Tom had done to Jerry, the social dynamics in my friendship circle, or that annoying glass of milk before school. Stories helped me take the currents happening both outside of me and inside of me and neatly place them into a narrative that I could make sense of. As journalists, you're trained to always ask the question, what is the story here? This question has been the focal point of my life for as long as I can remember. My life as a writer, my life as a human being just making my way through the world around me. A few years back, my life as a new mother to a colicky, premature newborn who squealed at all hours of the night. Because when you prioritize looking for stories in your own life, there's always something that you can hold in your attention. A beauty that you can pick out of almost anything. A new mandarin, music playing out of someone's backyard, the slump in someone's shoulder at a funeral. Even with loss and grief, confusion, sadness, joy, levity, stories give you a way to contextualize your life. Put it in a clear container, shake it up, see what settles. Look at it from different perspectives. Put it on a tabletop and come back to it after a long nap on the sofa, my favorite. But as energized as I was in telling these stories rooted in play and creativity and a natural intelligence that I had, in my life outside of these stories, I found it incredibly hard to express myself. The question I hated with a passion was, so, tell me about yourself. So I hid. I tucked my personality away. I blended into the background. I tried to hide, and I got really good at it, hiding faster and quicker. But as I was hiding, I made this saddening discovery that even though I was hiding, I was being seen anyway. But here's the kicker. I wasn't being seen for who I truly was, or who I wanted to be seen by. Real connections were passing me by. Opportunities were passing me by. Maybe you can relate. Freezing when someone brings up that question, the urge to shrink, flee, hide, or that anxiety, loading up all your professional achievements to the very top, getting it all out in one breath. I was so tired. This heightened, of course, if I was ever stressed out, like when I moved to Australia 8 years back. I remember that first phone call I made. It was to a real estate agent. The phone was ringing. My heart was beating. He picks up. I put the phone down immediately, scared of his accent, scared of my accent, scared of being different, scared of being wrong. The urge to hide away so strong in my throat. That question didn't go anywhere, though. It was everywhere, in overt ways, in subtle ways. People want to know about each other. But when people ask you this question, maybe it's more than just a question. Maybe it's an invitation to take up a space for a little while. So, frustrated by my own doing, I started entering into this space, using the one tool that I've had since I was 5, writing stories. Because when you outsource the task of talking about yourself to telling little stories filled with nuance and detail and texture and granularity, all laddering up to the bigger, more truthful picture of who you are, the pressure comes off and a connection is built. Because people aren't looking for a list of your professional qualifications, your highlight reel. They're looking for a person on the other side that they can connect to, form links with, maybe someday, who knows, have memories with. There is an idea in narrative psychology that as human beings, we make sense of our worlds through narratives. We arrange and collect and observe information, memories, personal identities, life histories, and neatly arrange them into a narrative that we can make sense of. The objective facts of our lives, the main facts, are going to stay the same. By and large, we don't have control over them. Birth, death, the families we're born into, whether or not we have that dementia gene. But what we do have control over is the meanings we make, the links we put in. Professor of psychology Jonathan Adler and psychologist Dan McAdams find that as human beings, one of the most crucial decisions we can make while telling our stories is where we start and where we end something, where we put the chapter breaks in. When I was 25, I was engaged to a man from Copenhagen. A blind date set up by a friend over Skype led to many more feverish blind dates at all hours of the day and night. Whirlwind trips to see each other, finally culminating in a ring. A few weeks later, though, it was on that very same Skype that I was being broken up with. I was crestfallen, the rug pulled out from under me, publicly humiliated. I had shared all these albums to Facebook. The prophecy I made was instant. Doomed never to find love again at the tender age of 25. If I bring the story here, it becomes what's called in narrative psychology as a contamination sequence, something that starts off beautifully but ends up in ashes. But when I was with this man, he led me to someone who went on to become one of my closest friends. We cooked together in shoebox apartments, went to music concerts with blue eyeliner, learned each other's friendship languages, even had our kids around the same time. He also led me to a job where I met a crinkly-eyed man who was funny and knew all the dialogues to Top Gun, who I've been married to for the past 12 years and share an equally funny daughter with. So if I bring the story here, it's called in narrative psychology as a redemption sequence, something that starts off fuzzy but ends beautifully. I started experimenting with this, bringing my love of telling stories with my fear of being seen and speaking about myself. Big stories, small stories, stories about my mother, my grandmother, what I packed in my lunchbox. It wasn't my plan to fuse both my identities together, the secret bedtime storyteller and the grown-up, outward-facing professional, but the more I did it, the freer I felt. Which brings me to the bit that I'm most excited about. The stories we tell the outside world start with the stories we tell ourselves. If you put some light and awareness into what you say to yourself in private, imagine the impact that it can have on the stories you tell the outside world. Jonathan Adler also finds that the more we have redemption sequences in our lives, the more it is associated with better well-being, life satisfaction, higher levels of self-esteem, lower levels of depression. Now, if we go back to that day, when I was 25 being broken up with over Skype, there are two versions of this. One, crestfallen, the rug pulled out from under me, doomed never to find love again. And the other one, the man with the crinkly-eyed smile, Top Gun, the funny daughter. Neither of these versions are more truer than the other. They aren't more accurate than the other. They're my interpretations of what happened. They're my meanings. Treated differently, they take on different arcs before going out in the world as my story, representing me. The choice is mine. So the next time you're tempted to make a prophecy like I did at 25, doomed never to find love again, I urge you to keep the story going. Look back to your past, make some intelligent links, make a better future for yourself with the stories you tell today. Maybe you take a deep breath and a long pause. Maybe even a nap on the sofa before waking up and asking the question, what is the story here? Thank you, everyone.